Hello and welcome to CloudFox Hub. My name is Bhavesh Atara. Right now, you are learning storage options inside the ECS Task Definition. In Task Definition, we have different storage options for Fargate and different storage options for EC2 launch type. We already discussed about all the storage options related to the Fargate in the previous video. In this video, we are going to discuss about all the storage options related to the EC2 launch type. So let's start. Here I am inside my task definition. I just selected Amazon EC2 instance, so I can get all the storage options related to the EC2 launch type. I'm going to explain you all this step by step through this particular mind map. The first thing that we need to understand about EC2 instance storage. Let me explain you. What is it? Local disk physically attached to your EC2 instance. You know, when we are using EC2 launch type, means EC2 is our container host and it is a part of our ECS cluster. Now, in any container host, because it is EC2 instance, we have EBS volume attached by default, right? So let's say that this is EBS volume of my container host and the size of this volume is actually 20 GB. Now, container host will use this EBS volume to store its own operating system, as well as when you create any task, ultimately task is actually creating container. Let's say that here I have created one container. So this container can also store data into this volume, right? It is actually creating writable layer, and whenever you are going to store data into the container is actually ultimately storing data into this EBS volume. Let's say that if I have 20 GB left, this container can store 20 GB data into this particular storage. But keep this in mind, if you have any files or folders in your EBS volume for your container host operating system, let's say that here I have my Linux operating system and I have one app data folder. Right, my operating system of container host is created this. It is actually in the file system of my Docker host, right? Now, your container cannot access this app data folder directly, okay? So, container actually creating isolated writable layer from the EBS volume, but it is isolated. So, containers cannot access file system of your container host by default, okay? Now, you got complete idea about this. Let's talk about bind mount. You are going to get this particular option over here. See, bind mount. What is it? Mount a specific directory or file system from the EC2 instance storage into the container, so container can access or share that host level data. Persistent as long as the instance run, because you are storing this, like you have this data stored into the instance file system, right? Shared storage? No. Can share the data between container in the same task? Yes. Mount required? Yes. Let me explain you. Let's say that I have this container C1. Now I want that this container can access this app data. So in this case, I have to mount this particular directory from the C1 container. It is called bind mount. Now whenever I will mount this from C1, this app data directory will be accessible from my C1 container, right? So main use case of the bind mount is if you want to access data from the file system of the container host, you can use bind mount. Another use case is, let's say that if I have C1, another container C2 as well, like I have multiple container running inside the task. Now if I am going to mount same folder from C2 as well, app data is mounted with C1 already. Now from C2 I'm also going to mount. So this app data would be like a shared folder for both C1 and C2 container as well. So specifically, two use cases we have for bind mount. One, to access the data from the container's host file system, and second is shared folder, right? But you have to mount this. There is no automatic process. How you can mount this? Here we have option bind mount, and then we have to provide source path, means path of our app data. Path of our app data here. Yeah. Then we have another option known as Docker volumes. See, in Docker, natively they supports both bind mount, and now they supports volume as well, right? Volume is specifically used to share data across the multiple container. Bind mount is a traditional method, Docker volume is a new method. Bind mount, we have two use cases. First, I want to access data from the operating system's file system, one, and it is also used to share the data between container. Docker volume specifically used to share volume between two containers. So I want one volume which can be shared by the multiple container. I will use this, right? So what is it? Name Docker manage volume shared under where lib Docker volumes. Specifically, this is a location where volume has been created inside the EC2 instance storage. Persistent as long as instance run, because here we are using file system of our container host. So if you delete this container, this data will be there because this data is actually inside your container host, right? Shared across the task? No, because it is running inside your container host. Can share data between container in the same task? Yes. If you mount this volume with a multiple container, it can be shared storage. Mount required? Yes, you have to mount. And how you can mount this? Here we have mount options, right? Now, these two is actually useful if you want to access data or if you want to use EC2 instance local storage, right? If you want external, we have mainly EFS and FSX, but let's talk about the EBS as well. See.
Sorry to interrupt you. I know you guys are enjoying our video a lot because our final ultimate goal is Solution Architect Certification exam. To reach the destination, we required full videos. Path number 1, our 6-in-1 program. Our 6-in-1 program include all prerequisite skills which is needed as a cloud engineer. It include 24/7 support, lifetime update, section-wise practice test, full course practice test with tips and tricks by Bhavesh Atara, how to do exam preparation course, weekly lifetime live session with Bhavesh Atara, and 6 AWS project with documents. Path number 2, you can enroll by paying 499 and get Hindi and English, both the languages, videos of AWS. The choice is yours how to create your success story by choosing best one. Best of luck. Thank you.